right, okay, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the 56th episode of Offset, the show where we bring on artists and we talk about their work, their inspiration, their process, and any questions that you might have in the chat while we're live streaming it. Obviously, we try to make this as replayable as possible. So if you're watching it and it's not live, I promise to still make it worth your time. It's not just a bunch of chat talk. That said, if you are in the chat, we'd love to hear from you. I'd love to relay the questions over to Ben. Today, we are joined by Ben. He is an Atlanta-based video editor and content creator. I don't want to talk up too much because our very first segment is actually an elevator pitch where artists are able to go and come on and talk about their own self-elevator pitch. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Ben. Hey, Ben, welcome to Offset.
What's up? How you guys doing?
Yeah, how's your day going?
It's good. Nice and sunny inside.
Sunny
Freezing
in Atlanta, right?
But doing good. Yeah.
It is like 30 degrees up in Brooklyn right now, so it
Okay,
is.
it's definitely colder there, but
Yeah, no,
I just get cold easy.
But we're gonna hop right into our very first segment, which is elevator pitch. Got a little timer. I'm gonna go ahead and set it to 1 minute, and I'm gonna give you the floor to talk about yourself for a minute or less. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, sounds good.
All right, ready, set, go.
My name is Ben Arduino. I am a video production business owner that specializes in video editing and content creation. And I strive to make quality video content that emotionally connects with its audience, especially in a world where there's a lot of digital junk. And I just want to make meaningful, thoughtful stories told and shown to the world. I invest time and effort into understanding your vision and ensuring that the final product meets and exceeds your expectations. And I'm based in Atlanta. I have 2 cats and a wife, and yeah.
Appreciate the ending. I mean, you
Yeah.
said 20 seconds left, but real quick, just because everyone's gonna want to know, what are your cats' names?
I have a big chunky boy, Obi. He's actually sleeping on the bed over here, and then Flora. She's a tiny little tabby cat.
Oh, cute. Tabby
Yeah.
cats. I had a mean tabby cat in college. It wasn't mine, it was my roommate's, and it was real mean. But now I have a mean tuxedo cat, so I guess it's just me.
Can't win them all, but they're good to you. So
yeah, they're great to me, of course. They're just mean to everybody else. I want to give everyone kind of context as to the work that you're talking about. So let's hop into, let's look at your work. Let's look at your work. So you mentioned you are a business owner, and that is WeKnow Visuals. How long has WeKnow Visuals been around? And tell us a little bit about it.
yeah. So the actual LLC, funny, only a couple years, but I've been doing video content, I guess almost about 5, 6 years now. Professionally, probably about 5. And yeah, I've been here in Atlanta, and I've just jumped around from kind of agency work to a lot of contract work, some set work, and then now I kind of do my own thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and so for people who don't know this, because I honestly didn't really know this much before I roomed with people from Atlanta. Atlanta has kind of turned into Hollywood of the East Coast, right?
Yeah, a little bit. There's a lot. There's always movies going on here, especially during like the warmer seasons. But and they built what's now Trilith, which is south of Atlanta, where they do, everyone knows that they do like a lot of the Marvel stuff there. There's always video work here. It's very well connected, and it's like if you're in the production core, it's a small circle, but there's a lot happening. So yeah, there's lots of video stuff happening here in Atlanta all the time.
Yeah, no, I didn't even personally even know that Marvel shot down there until a few years ago, and I was like, oh, I just figured that they traveled like all over the place, or it was just like all California. But like, it is a whole beast down there, I guess, because
Mhm.
I think that my old roommate said that there was a every terrain that you need is pretty much accessible in Georgia, aside from I think like snowy mountains. But even then,
Yeah,
like you
no
kind of
snow.
have to.
Yeah, but you can get a lot in Georgia, yeah.
So you created We Know Visuals though as a means to kind of channel your producer side of you, your video creation. Did you always know that you wanted to get into video?
No, but yes, it's funny, I always think about, like, when I was younger in school, especially, like, high school, whenever the teacher was like, "Okay, we had a project, you can make a presentation or, a video." And as I got older, I realized it's like I always went with the video option, and they were always bad and, like, silly and goofy, but, um I don't know why, I just was always really into cameras and making videos and stuff like that, so, when I got older and then went to college, I kinda pursued that more. I actually started getting more into design, and in high school, I took, like, a design class. I really got into Photoshop and learning a bunch of, like, design softwares, and I just always like to be well-rounded as much as I can, and I was like, "What how can I take design and maybe level it up a little bit or do something a little different?" And um, I kind of started pursuing video a bit more professionally, and that's kind of how I got into it. When I think about it, I'm like, no, I didn't always want to do video, but it's like it's always kind of been ingrained in me a little bit. So um, yeah, I've
It's
always
kind of
liked
always
creating
been
video.
there at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
in some capacity.
yeah.
Now, did you make the logo for We Know Visuals?
I did. Thankful. I'm very thankful for like this one specific class that I did take in high school, which kind of taught me how to use like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and I've always, honestly, a lot of the design stuff that I've done has just kind of been for fun. I've done a few paid projects for design work, um, but I'm always like when I got free time, I'm always trying to like mess around and create stuff. I think ultimately I want to make like a t-shirt brand one time down the road, but yeah, I kind of wanted something that had like a humanizing touch to it, and so there's a couple of variations I have, and but I landed on this one. So yeah, it was really cool.
Okay. Well, let's check out a little bit of in the fight if you'd like.
Yeah.
In sports, where we learn the virtue of the huddle, where you take North and South, East and West, conservative and liberal, black and white, you put them in the same huddle, you give them the same color jersey, you give them a common goal, you let them sweat, tear up, and work hard together, and special things start to take place.
Don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses. You get out there and whatever you're doing, do it the best of your ability. No one can do more than that.
The place for any man completing all of his powers is in the fight. And I don't know if I'm completing all of my powers, but having the opportunity through sports to fight for the growth and the development of young people is a fight that I'm honored to be in.
The journey is better than the end. It's the getting there that's the fun.
Well done. That was fantastic. So, can you tell us a
Appreciate
little
it.
bit about that project?
Yeah. So that one was actually I did that one for fun. It was a organization I was volunteering with, and so I knew a lot of the high school boys on. That was actually my high school as well. It was kind of funny.
Oh, no way.
Um, and funny, like I wanted to create a video for baseball and like around for the seniors especially. And that time I was super busy, and the one day that I had available to like make it out there and like go film some content ended up being the last day for a
Before
couple
COVID.
years. Like it was the day after that game. There's a couple players that are crying at the end, and the coach was basically telling them like, "Hey, there's this thing going around, COVID, kind of heard about in the news, like we're going to be out for a week. It could be a couple weeks. We don't know.
LOL.
Yeah. And it was like this, it was just so kind of like serendipity, like the one day that I can make it out, and in my head, I'm like, I'm here getting a little bit of stuff. I'm going to come back a couple more games, get some more stuff. But it ended up being the only day, and a lot of that was the last game those seniors played. Like they were for sure going to go to state championships, and like pretty sure they had a good chance of winning the state champs as well.
That's such a
And
bummer.
then they ended up, that was the last game of their season. Just, it was so interesting. It was so wild to think about. But
Now, did you ever send over a like a link to them or anything so they could kind of have this kind of immortalized
I did.
version before he shut down?
I sent it to the park, like the baseball director people, and a lot of the guys that I knew at the time. I sent them, and we did like a watch party as well. And it was like it was a big moment for them, especially too, because it was like they were going in, playing this game. They're on the road for the state champs, and then they just get the rug pulled out from them. And so I was like, man, like I want to create, even though I was planning to do more for them, I only had one game footage, so I was like, I want to make something that's like.
No, but it was great. I mean,
yeah.
the stuff that you got is very, very cohesive and feels like, many different shoots. You have great close-ups and pull-outs.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously you had no control over COVID. I mean, if you did, we'd have a different conversation. Yeah. And then there's one other one you have on your site, which is Never Too Late to Learn. It is a little bit longer, so I'm actually just gonna let it play in the background, and then maybe we can kind of talk a little bit on top of it. Can you talk about where this project came from and your experience with it?
Yeah. So this was in collaboration with another production company called Urban Pines, my friends Max and Blakely, and we were shooting they wanted to bring in a NFL player to teach kids how to learn for this initiative for teaching kids how to learn to swim. And but it was also aimed at, they wanted to be friendly, because a lot of kids get embarrassed from learning how to swim, even at a young age. And so there's a lot of accidents that happen to that, where kids kind of get pressured into swimming, just because they're afraid to not know how to ride a bicycle in front of your friends, not know how to swim in front of your friends, and that
Right.
causes injuries, deaths, and accidents. So they wanted to create this video of showing someone who is like an established person, who is kind of seen as a celebrity as well, who doesn't know how to swim. And so they found a NFL player who was up for it, Edo Smith, and he didn't know how to swim well. And so for, I can't remember how many weeks it was, but through the course of the class, it was over multiple weeks. There's this grown adult, professional football player that's learning how to swim with these kids. And so we got to document that and see the success, and tell the story of, these kids learning to swim and a grown adult as well. So,
No,
and
it's
that
such
there's
a
no shame in
cool compliment of or not compliment, like just something that kind of like water it down to make it more accessible for people.
that.
And
No pun
especially as a
intended.
kid, like it's really great to have. I'm also really noticing the beautiful colors that you have. The color grading is really good. I mean, it's obviously nicely lit because it's like the pool's next to a big window. But even
That
with
was
that,
the whole thing.
you what?
That was a whole thing with the shoot too. But
Was it
there's
really?
thankfully, there's a window there. But I mean, it's such a big space, and like it was a small crew, and like lighting over a big body of water. But we did have it lit from that one side, but we were like, we have to do the lessons right here, because like
Right.
it's so dark over there.
By the way, I do want to call out Chuck Wills. Thank you for being over in the chat. He gave a compliment off of the baseball video and said, love that video. Also, Bruce loves the videos as well, is saying in the chat. If you guys have any questions for Ben as we're going through, let us know. Penny Doodles is calling out that they're an adult who doesn't know how to swim. What a cool video. I'm really interested in how you got these underwater shots. Is that casing on top of a camera you already had, or did you get a specific water camera for that?
So that was actually a good friend of mine, John Mark, who also lives here in Atlanta, and we work on a lot of projects together when we can. We just used a smaller, I can't even remember what it was off the top of my head, but we used a smaller, like a mirrorless camera, and it wasn't anything like super heavy duty, underwater rig, because those things are super expensive.
Right.
So he used his own personal camera, and we put it in a camera waterproof bag.
Terrifying.
Yeah, but it was like built for that, but it was definitely. But he was like, "I'll do it," like
it's such like a risk. Like there's a small little issue with it, like boom, wasted.
Yeah. It was funny. I had a picture somewhere of him. He's like, we have this NFL player, these kids, and then this other dude with goggles on and like a camera in a water bag, and like you can't really change any settings or focus the camera, so you have to do it all above the water, put it in the bag, and then you kind of just
hope for the best. Now, did they normally come out well? Like I know you had issues with lighting too. I mean, obviously they're darker underneath. Was that something where you guys had to struggle with it and kind of continually pull it up and like review footage, or was it actually pretty expedited?
It worked pretty well. We couldn't, we did review footage, but it wasn't until like after the underwater segments, because we didn't have time to like do a shot. And this isn't like a stage lesson. This is like these kids and are in an actual lesson.
Yeah.
And so we can't stop the lesson, really.
Right.
There were a couple moments where they're flexible.
They're not faking not knowing how to swim. Like you can't be like, oh yeah, can you do that again? Can you pretend to not know how to swim? Like no, like I'm trying to swim and breathe right now.
And so John Mark was actually like in the deep end, I remember, and he's like underwater, and like they're kind of going person by person in a lot of these like the lanes, and they're swimming. So it was just kind of funny. So yeah, we filmed the stuff, and then when there was like a moment like they were going to the next thing, we would kind of look at the footage. But we kind of knew beforehand like what we were gonna get. But yeah, there was a lot of it was kind of point and shoot, because we didn't have a way to send signal to another camera out, or like a monitor out. So it was kind of
makes it all the more impressive, honestly.
Yeah. These were great. Those shots were, those were kind of staged at the end, but yeah, it was a really fun project.
And yeah, I mean, both this and the baseball one, I just love the colors of it. It turned out really well and super strong. There is one more aspect of your work that I personally know, and you didn't include in your thing. Is it okay if I share one of your LinkedIn videos?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, let's hop on in here. You make these really great videos that are, oh, why is it not? Give it a second. I'll share this. But you've made these explainer videos of different aspects of creating video and using equipment.
Yeah.
Real quick for the people in the chat, do you want to explain what happened to you about a month ago?
Yeah. So my wife and I were actually in New York, and is this what we're talking about, my apartment situation?
Your apartment situation. Yes, exactly.
We were in New York, and we were out at dinner, and we get a call from one of the other tenants that's like in that we were living in a house split into apartments. And so one of the other tenant calls us and is like, hey, there's a lot of water spewing out of our bathroom. A pipe had burst. Luckily for us, it conveniently pooled over my office area, and it just dumped on my desk and a lot of my equipment. So actually, yeah, it was kind of sucks. So we're now like, I'm in an Airbnb right now. We're trying to find a new apartment, but
it like fried a lot of your equipment, right?
Yeah, a lot of stuff is kind of like just got drenched, and it's my main hard drive, and then my backup hard drive, which I was like out of town for. I didn't think about it. I left it on top of my desk. So my redundant copy of all my other stuff. And
But why would you think about it? That's not
yeah, I'm
something
like,
that you would
what? Oh, if our
necessarily.
apartment floods, I'm not thinking about it's gonna come from the ceiling. Like,
Yeah, right.
it's off the ground. Like, anyway, so that like all my stuff right now is like at this third party company, or my drives at least with all my work, and it's good. They're like, we can recover it, but it's just
Thank God.
I don't
But
have
that's just
any of it. So
it's a mess. Both Chuck Willis and Tucker Davis are putting F's in chat for your
yeah,
equipment.
that's a big
I
F.
appreciate. But yeah, I have this guy pulled up. It's just a video. I mean, it's 7 minutes long, so we're not gonna watch the whole thing. But I do want to show a little bit because I think you have a really good way of explaining some really great stuff.
That's me, old apartment. Rip.
Now you want to pull the trigger. If you're interested in my take and some references of cameras that might be good for a first timer, I'll list those at the end of the video, as long as their price and where you can get them. Here are a few tips to help you decide on what camera to land on for your first camera. Starting with number one, you need to know what you're interested in. Most cameras can do both photo and video these days, but a lot of times they will prioritize one or the other with small features here and there. So if you're interested in video, but still want to take photos, recommend looking at a camera that prioritizes video. Or if you're interested in photography, you want to find a camera that prioritizes photography features. Again, most cameras that are made today in 2023 do have the ability to do both. And a lot of times they can shoot 4K video and take high resolution photos. The second thing you want to figure out is what type of lens you need. Now, let's say you're a wildlife photographer trying to capture a flying squirrel from 200 meters away. You're going to need a long lens and a fast camera to do that, versus someone who just wants a camera to take daily pictures with their friends and family. Those two people need two different tools. One needs a probably higher end camera and a long lens that can shoot fast, reliable.
Also, shout out to the cat appearance in the
Always.
background for a second there.
Always when I'm making a video, they're always in it.
But do you want to talk a little bit about this is part of like a larger series that you kind of have with different videos just kind of going through process. One that I saw that was really helpful for me was actually lighting a scene. What has inspired you to do this? What has been the feedback you've received from it?
Honestly, the main thing is I think long term I'm super interested in YouTube. You know, everyone is. If you ask any kid, they're like, "I want to be a YouTuber." But I do value teaching and learning, and like learning for free. You know, like I hate paywalled information.
Yeah.
Information. I don't want to say hate paywalled information. I don't like information that could be shared with the public that could easily elevate people
The general
around you,
public.
and that being paywalled.
Yeah.
And so I love just being kind of like a source of knowledge. And my thoughts with like kind of long term is like I do want to create YouTube videos that are just, you know, I learned so much stuff on YouTube personally. And I think it's just a cool way to give back and share your experiences and what you know. And then secondly is I'm bad at I just realized I'm bad at marketing myself. I think a lot of creatives are. Everyone is, and then especially creatives, because there's people that are like, I feel like good at like selling themselves, and that it's like it just comes natural. But as creatives, it's like we make this stuff, and then at least for me, I can't speak for every creative, but it's very vulnerable to share your own work. And I'm like, how do I share what I do with other people, and how can I do that without just posting like the one video out of context? So I was like, well, maybe I can share, you know, thoughtful, you know, teaching videos that can kind of scratch the surface level to the, you know, the general public that may not be in video production, but like everyone has a phone. Everyone likes taking pictures, and people are always asking me like, what, I want to get a camera. What camera should I get? Which is such a nuanced. It's a very hard question to answer.
We have very, very many variables.
Yeah. So I was like, well, maybe I can, you know, create videos that may help other people, and specifically, I've been aiming some of those at LinkedIn just so it can kind of be as more a way to market myself, and find more work as well through that. But I do have a YouTube channel. I have not posted on it in a minute, but that is something I do want to pursue.
Maybe that's
at some point down
2024.
there. Yeah, maybe that's 2024.
By the way, in the chat, Bruce and Arshia are trying to figure out what your T-shirt says. She's
in that
saying,
video,
yeah, is it family and friends?
it is. It is one of my favorite bands. Kind of smaller, but they're kind of big. Based out of Athens and Atlanta. But yeah, family and friends. Looking for great
And then
music.
Alex is also celebrating no gatekeeping for information.
That's
So
right. No gatekeeping.
props for that. But yeah, thank you so much for letting us take a look at your work. I know I put you on the spot there for the LinkedIn one, but I
No,
just
you're
think
good.
that they're really great. I'm hoping that you do more of them because I've learned from them, and I think you have a lot to offer. But let's go on and let's hop into our next segment, which is 20 quick questions. 20 quick questions. So this is a segment where we just kind of ask some rapid fire questions where you can kind of just give short answers. You can give long answers. Doesn't really matter. It's whatever you're feeling. But I have some editing video questions for you. And the first one we have is shoot in vertical or crop later.
Man, some of these, I feel like it's such a depends on the project. If it is something that is only social and it's only going to be used vertically, shoot vertically. Most of the time I'm shooting horizontal, keep it 16:9, as much as possible. And then, crop it later.
Now, this is separate from the 20 questions, but if you are shooting for vertical, are you shooting on a mirrorless or are you shooting on your camera, on your phone? What are you kind of approaching vertical content with?
Most stuff, I have done a few projects where I have used, it's just easy, like for that specific project, it's been more convenient to shoot on a phone. But most client work that I'm doing that is social is going to be shot on a camera and is just turned vertical, turned vertically.
Right.
It is like the creative, right now it's like the controversial, creative nightmare. Like everyone in agency life is like, we need this vertical, and then, but like, I'm not like a true buff nerd cinema dude, but like there is something natural about like keeping it 16:9. So it is hard when you need to conform everything now both a 16:9 and a vertical. And so, yeah, I'm using a camera to shoot vertical, and but most of the time I'm trying to keep it 16:9 if possible.
Right on. How many monitors do you use?
Right now I got one, but
when they're not under a waterfall.
Yeah, when they're not underwater. Two generally, and I suffer from it because I want to create a aesthetic look, but it's hard to make an aesthetic look with two monitors without it just looking like a game station. Yeah, two monitors. So
now, do they go side by side or on top of each other?
Side by side. With the amount of time I spend on looking at the monitor, like I actually had one vertical in my head. I'm like, I'm going to be referencing notes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was just doing this constantly, so it was just hurting my neck. So I keep them side by side.
I am still trying to figure out what I want to do. Right now I have horizontal, and then now I have this new prompter thing that also is like a little monitor. So it's like this weird vertical thing. But
yeah,
I do sometimes wish I had vertical on. I played with it before.
If you're streaming, it makes sense, but I wasn't streaming, so.
What is the most productive hour of the day?
For me, it's usually early in the morning. If I can get started early enough in the morning, I will grind hard in the morning.
What's early in the morning? Is that like 7 or is that like 10?
I think between, no, not 10. 10's too late for me for early. I think like if I'm starting at a good time, like between 7 and 9, if I can like sit down on the computer and start working, then I can be very productive. But mostly I'm a late afternoon, evening worker, which doesn't always work out with like life schedule. But if I'm working at night, I get so focused at night for some reason. I don't know why.
That's where I'm at. It is no secret that I am a midnight oil kind of guy. But it's just
I feel like brain turns on. Less distractions, like things kind of going on, people that text you. It's just kind of like,
Next up, we have fueled by coffee or fueled by tea.
I'm gonna say coffee. I wasn't really a coffee drinker until I got married. It makes me super jittery. I can't drink like more than half a cup usually, but coffee is what I drink.
Wait, is your wife a big coffee drinker? Is that why?
Yeah, she loves coffee. I love coffee and I appreciate it, but in the morning, like it just makes me so like hyper. I feel like I took an exam that I left and I'm like I either passed or I failed that. Like
Yeah.
it's like kind of makes me that anxious. Um but I
It's
really
never
like
a good feeling when you feel like you passed it, though. I always failed the ones where I was like, I
I
nailed
nailed it.
that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
that's the one I failed.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny.
Which do you like more, linear or non-linear edits?
Linear for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, if you're talking about like editing software, like because I know Final Cut and all that like has like I cannot understand. I don't know how people use that sort of timeline. Um, I can't remember what that is, but yeah, linear edits and like Premiere and everything. It's just I can move clips when I need to. I can stack them, and I'm gonna edit linearly. Linearly.
Linearly.
Yeah.
What's your most overused effect?
Ooh, that's hard because I'm not. I don't do a ton of heavy effects. Um, I think and it's funny because it's overused by a lot of people. I would say like light burns, light leaks, or they're just so good and kind of just too easy to use for just quick transitions from a
Right.
cut to cut. If you're like, how do I get from this clip to this clip? Flash like a little flash burn right there. Just like looks good, it's quick, and it's not a hard cut. So
Yeah, it's easy
probably most
to land on. What effect do you actively avoid using?
um it was really big in like 2016 and some people still use it, but I cannot do the zoom. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I
I know
don't
exactly what you're talking about. The like people, and then it like even flipped kind of. It was like a flash to flip because you
yeah.
zoomed, and it like
And they just kept getting more bizarre a little bit. But yeah,
yeah.
it's like it's the transition from one clip to another clip that just like and it's one clip starts small and then the other one's big and comes in, or it's vice versa. So
You know what let me
ugh.
know that it had jumped the shark was when you were starting to see it in real estate videos, and I was like,
Oh my
chill,
gosh, yeah.
chill, chill.
Or like entrepreneurial, like take my course. Here's yeah, those
Yep.
videos, and you're like, ugh.
Would you rather green screen or rotoscope?
I'd say for the type of video work I do, probably green screen. Uh, but if it comes down to it, if it's necessary, I've had to roto some stuff, but it is very time consuming,
Very time consuming.
and it just depends on the footage. Because if it makes
Getting better,
it is
but
getting very better. I will say that, yeah.
it's still not a walk in the park. So,
Mhm.
especially if the footage is bad, which is normally when you have to rotoscope because the footage is
Yeah.
bad. So, what's a piece of client feedback you hear too much?
I want to say something from like even like just recent person. It's not even like a thing. I think client feedback that I think is so funny is um almost like double backing on themselves, where they'll be like, can we take this out? There's too much of this, and then you do that, and then they're like, can we add this back in? There's not enough of it. So
Yeah.
it literally just happened to me on a project. I'm like, I just did this.
Are you good at
So-
saving versions, or are you able to at least pull
oh
up an old
yeah,
version and pull it back
yeah.
in?
Always save versions, duplicate sequences. That's the way to go. So it's just funny because it's like you get to a point where you're like, I'm just doing what you're asking me to, and I do exactly what you're asking me to, and now are we just going back to the previous version? Like, what are we doing? I don't know.
No,
So
I agree. Short form or long form?
ooh, I'm a go long form, but I mean, we all love short form. I love TikTok. Who doesn't love a nice short form video laugh? But with everything going short form, that's hard because I think it's too hard to tell everything in like a 30-second, 16-second video. Like long form, especially the stuff that I'm really interested in more narrative work. You got to have that in long form. It's too hard to tell someone's story in 30 seconds. Now for a
I
trailer,
can't
that
tell
makes
everyone's
sense.
story in a Vine. Like
Yeah,
what?
no. What?
Also, people are gonna be watching this, and be like, "What year was this filmed?" He says
Yeah.
Vine.
I tried so hard on Vine.
Saturated or muted color grading?
Um, I love colors. I'm gonna say saturated. But there's kind of like a happy medium. I like everything right now is trying to emulate film, and that is a more saturated look. But some commercials, some stuff got posted, and it looks like they just posted the raw footage. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna say saturated.
How many unread emails do you have in your inbox?
Not good. I'm a my wife always gets mad at me for this. I don't open email unless it's like important. So like my spam email, just I don't open it until I do a batch delete. So I just have tons of unread emails. So I have a lot of unread email.
What's the best background noise for work?
If it's something where I'm not video editing, I'm always listening to like instrumental cinematic, kind of like it's not cinematic, but like movie scored music.
Yeah.
But video editing, I can't listen to music. I have to be listening to the audio, so nothing there. But if
with that in mind, do you have a favorite movie score?
I do. I'm trying to think. I have a whole playlist. Honestly, I really like the song is called the Rio Grand the Grand Canyon River. I can't think of it, but I can't think of the band right now.
Yeah.
I could pull up on Spotify, but
I really like The Social Network. That one's always a really good one for me.
That's a good one. Social Network has a good one. If I'm trying to be anxious, the Interstellar one.
If you're on a tight dedeline,
yeah,
you just
tight
crank
deadline.
the Interstellar.
The ticking one always gets, that's so funny. And then I can't think the To Write a Home people, they make like a lot of instrumental stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, no, instrumental's great though.
Yeah.
I also dabble also in like YouTube videos and podcasts, but it's hard if you're video editing.
Yeah.
Do you use removable storage, cloud storage, or just your hard drive?
I use it all. Lots of cloud storage for bigger projects that are being shot. I mean, some footage can easily be a couple terabytes, so it's like that's too hard to store on cloud footage. So that's usually duplicated and copied onto hard drives.
Yeah, do you have a client like a hard drive for each client or each project, or how do you?
Yeah, so I usually store projects on like my main hard drives, which are now elsewhere because they got water on.
They're swimming.
But yeah, usually for every project, I will budget in like depending on the size of the project, but usually at most like a 5 to 10 terabyte, like a lacy hard drive kind of thing. That way there can be always have a duplicate of your project. If it exists in one spot, it does not exist. Because if something happens to it, then it doesn't exist. So always have a redundant copy of it. And so, yeah, hard drives.
Key tip. By the way, in the YouTube chat, Tucker Davis in all caps is saying the mighty Rio Grande, and then Alex is saying the mighty Rio Grande. By this will destroy you.
This will destroy you. Yeah, they have great music.
Do you edit alone, or do you like to edit with a team?
Most of the stuff I am editing alone. I have edited with a team. I did a big project probably back in 21. It might have been 2020. I can't remember. With an agency, and there was like 5-6 editors at once, all in one Premiere project. And this is very different now with shared editing. This has come a long way too. So that was very interesting. Like we each had our own type of video that we were editing in one project, and we all had our own sequences. And so everyone was working on the larger project, but like a different video within that project.
Right.
But yeah, most of what I do, I'm editing by myself.
Would you like to work on one long project or a bunch of tiny projects?
For my attention span, probably one long project.
Yeah. Favorite art class you ever took?
I'm gonna have two. High school, I had a digital media and design class, and that's the class that I learned a lot of like Photoshop, Illustrator, and all that stuff. I think that really helped me get interested in design and creative work. And then second, I think in college, I didn't actually take a lot of art classes in college, but Matt Forrester, shout out to him. He was the chillest best art class that I ever took. Um, there were a couple classes in college that were like, we have to do it this way,
Yeah.
and his was like, this is the project. I don't care how you do it, like do it. And that was really cool. So there wasn't a limit on what we could really create, just as long as we created something. So
Yeah, there's enough limits later in life. Like
yeah,
it's good to be
yeah.
able to actually
Stop limiting me.
experiment while you can.
Yeah.
Voiceover narration or text overlays?
I'm a big voiceover narration.
Yeah.
Text is almost necessary now, but yeah, voiceover.
It's funny because almost everyone I've asked this has said voiceover, but whenever I pull up everyone's work, it's always text.
It is
Like,
I mean, you have to, because
yeah,
it just, and I think about it for myself, like majority of people, at least on our phone, this is the whole thing with like watching media on our phones. Majority of people are watching media without sound on. And
right.
so if you want them to click into video, you got to have text on it. But
That's a whole nother level of
that's the whole,
interaction
like,
that you are banking on them getting past in order to get to the thing that you want.
yes. If I go to the movies, I don't want text on the screen. If I'm watching at home, I want subtitles on. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It was funny. My little nephew, who was like 2 or 3, he was watching and had subtitles on because it was just on default. And then he's like, "Can you get all the letters off the screen?" Because he like couldn't read it. Like, so it was just, which is funny.
I love
And then the last question I have for you is, when you're starting an edit, do you like to edit chronologically or hit the key scenes first?
I go through key scenes. I think I kind of build the story out if it's not like pre-scripted. I build the story out, and then I'll kind of find those pieces. But if it's a lot of times you have like a bunch of interviews and you're like kind of pulling the story together, so I'll find key moments and scenes and then start building it chronologically, if that makes sense.
Good answer. All right. Well, that was our 20 quick questions. I'd love to hop a little bit into some inspirations because you talked about it. So let's do
Cool.
some art talk. Now, someone you brought up as far as a videographer would be Danny Gervitz.
Yeah, Danny Gervitz. Yep.
And how did you find him? And what do you like about his work?
He is a very kind of niche, not really niche at this point, but like a niche section of YouTube. He's a filmmaker, and I found him on YouTube, and I really like his style of video work, the way he goes about making his videos. He also he's a really good teacher. He has, he creates videos that are more so to be watched, and then he creates videos that are, tips and tricks kind of thing. And he's just very humble, has a lot of integrity. He's not trying to be someone like who he's not really. So I really like that and kind of aspire to be that. And yeah, he makes really cool stuff and he breaks it down and doesn't overthink things. So yeah.
Oh, teach me his ways, please.
Yeah.
Love to overthink.
Yeah, same.
What I'm seeing is similar colors, it seems, but it feels like a lot of the shots of your swimming video also kind of feel very inspired by this as well.
Mhm.
Also, I don't know if you've seen Poor Things or not, but they kind of do this cool circular lens thing in that movie,
Yeah,
and I thought it was one of the coolest
anamorphic.
parts.
Yeah.
But that movie's a wild ride, I will say that.
Yeah.
You gave a lot of great examples of people that you're excited about. So another one you have is Bennett Coast, who is a musician and director. Do you want to talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, he's very new to me. He just kind of popped. I don't even know. He popped up in my explore feed or something. Musician, but like he came out with this really cool video. I think this is it. Kind of documenting the process of him directing and producing his own song, but the whole video in itself is like its own thing, not associated with the song. So um it just seems very fun. It's very well thought out, but it doesn't feel like it feels like it's almost just done on the fly, but I know a lot of it is well thought out, and that's what I feel like makes it so cool and well made, is that if you can't tell, like if it feels natural, but it look there's a lot of work in it behind that, then that's when it's good. It's because it's you shouldn't be able to like see that something's fabricated essentially. So I don't
Right.
know. It feels. I really like the style. It's very it is very natural. Very like I don't want to say like documentary and yeah, it just has its own flair and style to it. So
Now,
he's
is
really cool.
music or something anything that you would ever really be interested in kind of pursuing and exploring from a video sense?
I personally don't want to do anything music video esque. I like the story. Like I like this. Like making a documentary behind music. I think would be something I would want to do, but I don't want to do music videos.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you have then like that kind of inspiration coming from. I always find it really interesting when I like speaking of musicians. This just happens to be a good example with it. But whenever I find like a really good musician that I like, and then someone interviews them, and they're like, "Who are your favorite musicians?" And then I listen to that music, and then I'm like, "Wait, this sounds nothing like your music. Like I don't like
Yeah,
this music. I should if this is my favorite artist's favorite."
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's funny how that works, you know.
hmm
Then you also included a few photographers, which I think is important because so much of videography is and cinematography is being able to understand and focus on something. And the first one you mentioned was Joe Greer. Do you want to talk about
hmm
them?
Love Joe Greer. Almost had I kind of had a chance to meet him recently in New York, but yeah, he shoots all on film, and he has a very distinct style. It's very, again, like it feels very present. Every frame feels so good. Like it just naturally, like you're like, man, that's a good photo. But what's
Right.
so good about it, everything is like nothing's posed. He's a street photographer. He's more than that, but a lot of his style is street photography. So it is very like person coming across, boom. But like every frame composition, it is like wild. I'm like, how do you think about this in the moment as it's happening?
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, super awesome guy, has a really cool story. Um,
But I mean, that said, you kind of had to do this with the idea of swimming, shooting the swimming lessons because like you couldn't pose them. You had to kind of look.
yeah,
So it's like it is it's
and yeah,
but I
yeah.
also definitely agree with the idea of, it's so hard and admirable when someone is good at just like shooting on the street, uh,
hmm
which is really cool to see.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Daniel Kaysen, or Kasson,
hmm
Casson. I'm pulling up his Instagram for us. But this looks way more nature focused, which is a deviation from what we just looked at.
Yeah. And I just like this is someone he just popped up on my Explore feed a long time ago, and again, very kind of similar, like just taking the beauty of nature and capturing really cool moments. It's really really cool, and that's what I like to do. Like when I'm not shooting video, I love taking photos, and I love being outside, and um, I just really like. And he's also, I think he shoots a lot of film as well.
Now, to that video that we actually even watched of yours earlier, and you're talking about the differences between cameras, whether you're shooting video or
Mhm.
stills. Do you have a separate camera that you use when you're going out and shooting photos?
Yeah, I really want to get a Fuji X Pro, but I do have the Fuji X100F. I'm a diehard fan of it. Um, RIP to the 100V, which is the newest one, but it kind of blew up on TikTok and is so hard to get. But I think for me the important thing is I take photos, and if I go on a trip, I'm usually packing more than one camera. But if I have to worry about, oh, should I bring this lens or this lens, then I'm always carrying too much, and then it just takes
Yeah.
away from like actually taking the photo. So I really like about the Fuji that I have, it's a fixed lens. I can't change lenses, and I'm just forced to shoot with that. And it's small, can fit it in my pocket, and yeah,
And it's kind
that's
of
what I
those
use.
constraints, which is nice because it takes off the responsibility of yours. You're like, I have what I have, you
Yeah,
know?
I have what I have. I don't have to think about other things. I just use this, and that's what I use. So
Alright. And then the last one that we have is Thaddeus for hausography.
yeah, I don't
Um,
really.
Thaddeus. I'm not sure. It's always so funny, like pulling up Instagrams and being like, all right,
Yeah. I don't even know if that's his real name, but that's I don't.
And these are totally different than I like the variety that you're providing because they're all very different and they have different things to take away. Why did you choose this guy?
He has such a crazy style. Like this is nothing that I like try to like really aspire to create or emulate, but I just like I'm like this is a cool artist. Like he has a really cool way and distinct style of shooting. He I don't remember fully what he does, but he probably has like a filter on it, and then I think it might be Vaseline. I'm not sure, but
Like Vaseline on the lens.
he smudges something on
Yeah.
I don't know about that one, but like a lot of them, they look blur. They look. It's almost like a slow shutter speed, but not. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, they got like grunge to them.
Yeah, I love a grunge. I love grunge.
It was funny though. I was watching this podcast about wedding photographers, and they're like, "What is your biggest pet peeve right now?" And they're like, "The blurry wedding photography is
Yeah.
so big right now." And they're
It
like,
is
"How
really
did
big.
we get here?"
Yeah.
Like a still life of the table setting, but it looks like someone like body slammed them in the middle of the picture.
Yeah. It is. I love it. I love.
But cool. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiration stories. I'm so sad we're actually pretty close to already being at time.
Oof.
But I know you mentioned that some of those weren't ones that you necessarily aspire to, but they kind of just inspire you.
Yeah.
Let's real quick do a quick conversation about burnout. What do you do when you are experiencing burnout?
For me, if I am experiencing burnout, I just need to, if I've been like looking at something for so long, I just need to step away from it. And honestly go outside. Music is
Touch grass.
very touch grass. Music's very helpful for me. I need to like almost isolate myself and like listen to music, and that like helps me rejuvenate my thoughts and like whatever I need to do if I'm like burnt out. And creating for fun. That's a big thing. I think long-term burnout, like it's like, oh, this year was packed and I just didn't. It's like I need to save time to, or preserve time to create stuff for myself and not just like other people,
Right.
on my own time and at my own pace.
Great. And then one more segment we have is next question. Next question. For this, we are asking guests to ask the next guest a question. I don't know when the next episode of Offset's going to be, so this is really going just into the future. But first, going to give you a question from our last guest, then we're going to go from there. Cool. If you can pick any other career besides the one that you have now, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I want to do something outside, kind of, but what would I do? That's a good question. I do think about this sometimes. Like, what if all video, like and like technology ceased to exist? What would I do?
The grid goes offline.
Yeah, because I'm like, what would my job be in the apocalypse? Honestly, like, and I am horrible at woodworking. I don't know how to woodwork, but I really am interested in like knowing how to like create. I still want to create something, like do something with my hands. I don't know, maybe something like that. I'd get
No,
into
I think
that.
that's a great question. I mean, that's a great answer. You don't necessarily have to have expertise in what you have. Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But unfortunately, that's all we have for time. I want to make sure I give you a platform. Is there anything anyone should check out? Should we just check out your socials, or where can we find you online?
You can find me at my Instagram, which is tagged right there, Ben_Jamina, and my website, which is WeKnowVisuals.com. And I answer DMs on Instagram and email, ben@WeKnowVisuals.com as well. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show, and it was really great talking to you and hearing about your process and your videos. And I had a really good time.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll talk
All right.
soon.
Have a great weekend, dude.
Thank
I'll
you.
talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right, guys, that's it for Offset for this week. Stay tuned. There is some more Adobe Live coming up, but as far as Offset goes, that puts a wrap on this season. That was our 56th episode, which is crazy to think about. Thank you to everyone that supported in the chats and added questions and comments. It's always good to have you guys here. Roscoe wants to say goodbye to you guys as well. And thank you guys for everything. Thank you to our moderators, Rick and Mike and Penny Doodles and Oliver and Alessandra and Tucker and Vandal and Chuck and Alex, all you guys name it. Thank you for being here. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And we'll see you on the inside. I have my own show starting up next week. I'm going to be taking over File New on Fridays. So I will see you a week from today. And I'm excited to do that, but that'll be a different format. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.